live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks so much for joining us on 2 News Live. I am Jim Spiewak. It's December 26th, the day after Christmas, and we are going in depth tonight on a number of topics, including the next court hearing for Jodi Hildebrandt. She is the Southern Utah woman who is facing aggravated child abuse charges. Now, before we dive in, let's go ahead and show you what is making headlines right now on the day after Christmas. So here's the first headline for you. Police are investigating an early morning shooting that injured one person at a downtown Salt Lake 7-Eleven. When officers got there to the scene, that's when they found a person who suffered a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. Investigators believe that the shooting may have happened after an argument between the victim and the shooter inside of that 7-Eleven's convenience store. Moving right along, let's go ahead and show you work is underway over at the Weber State University to get some housing repaired before students return from break. That is not it. That's what's trending over on KUTV.com. Let's see if we can do this. There it is, Weber State housing fire. This is my first time doing this show. Please bear with me. All right, so anyway, these students, when they return from break, we will see if this building is ready. There was a fire that broke out at the student housing complex, and it all started with a grease fire in the second floor apartment of Building 5 over at the University Village complex. The fire was put out by the sprinkler system. No one living in the complex at the time, so no one was injured by the fire. That is some good news right there. Boy, this touchscreen has given me fits today, isn't it? Let's try this. Nope, it's not going to work. You know what? We're just going to keep moving on. Dozens of police cars and cruisers, they had to be called in for a potential swatting incident, which happened in a Pleasant Grove neighborhood. This happened on Christmas Day. It happened in the area of 900 North, 100 East, near the junior high school. The report turned out to be fake, however, and neighbors believe that it was reported the result of an ongoing neighbor dispute over animal control issues. And then finally, the TSA, they're saying that there are a bunch of people that are flying right now. Last Friday was the busiest day at security checkpoints during the pre-Christmas travel period. 2.75 million people, they were screened on December 22nd, which is up from about 2 million in 2022. The high travel volumes, they are expected to continue through New Year's Day, so be mindful of that if you are traveling. So as we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us during the show. Make sure you use the hashtag 2NewsLive if you would like to join the conversation. Well, tomorrow is a very big day in the case against Jodi Hildebrandt. She is the Southern Utah woman facing aggravated child abuse charges. She is scheduled to appear in court in St. George tomorrow morning, and it will be her first court appearance since her co-defendant Ruby Franke pled guilty and agreed to testify against Hildebrandt, which has some legal analysts speculating if Hildebrandt will actually also plead guilty herself. Paul Nelson is joining us live in St. George with more. So Paul, what are these attorneys saying?
Well, basically, ever since Ruby Franke took the guilty plea back on the 18th and decided that she would go ahead and testify against her former business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, the legal analysts that we've been speaking with basically say Hildebrandt doesn't seem to have much of an option left. That's kind of her only choice at this point, is to go ahead and plead guilty also. That's of course leading to the speculation about whether or not she will. Now, the analyst that we also spoke with said that basically when you have a willing co-defendant that has flipped, in this case kind of like how Ruby Franke has flipped against Hildebrandt, that is a devastating thing to have to overcome. And so that's one thing that's going against Hildebrandt, but also at the same time, they're wondering if they were to bring the children onto the witness stand, they say that would be a terrible thing that nobody wants, either the defense or the prosecution. Neither side actually wants to bring the child abuse victims onto the stand. So that is what is kind of speculating to whether or not she is going to take a guilty plea. Of course, now tomorrow, what was listed here tomorrow was a waived preliminary hearing, but the scheduled appearance is going to start at 11 o'clock. So we will be here and covering what exactly happens with this particular case. In this case, it's Jodi Hildebrandt, her preliminary hearing that was waived that's happening tomorrow.
Hey, Paul, I was down in St. George. This was all the way back in September. We were supposed to be covering Jodi and Ruby's bail hearing was actually what was on the docket at the time. We showed up to that exact courthouse behind you, And just about an hour and a half before that scheduled hearing, they canceled it. There have been no court hearings for Jodi Hildebrandt since, and that was back in September. So attorneys said they needed more time to go through discovery. So, I mean, I know that that it's still, the hearing is tomorrow, but is there, in your estimation, a pretty good chance that this case will move forward? And then I guess, like you were alluding to, it's tough to try to bring children back to court and kind of relive some of these allegations over again. If you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, matter of fact, what you were talking about with the hearing that was postponed, because the phrasing that they used, it wasn't just they had more evidence to go through, but they said they had was copious amounts of discovery that they had to go through. So they, for a while, they didn't even set any kind of hearing back. Since then, though, that is when Ruby Franke has flipped against Jodi Hildebrandt. Ruby Franke's attorney on the 18th of last week actually said that it was Jodi Hildebrandt who distorted her sense of morality, basically isolated Ruby Franke against her family for so long, and that's kind of what distorted her perception. So you did have a major sway in the particular momentum of this hearing, because before they didn't have enough discovery, they hadn't gone through enough discovery, but now they have a willing co-defendant who is willing to go to testify against Hildebrandt. And the legal analysts that we have spoken with for a while say that realistically, Ruby Franke didn't get a great kind of deal. It wasn't one of those sweetheart deals that some people get, and so that actually would make her look more credible to the jury if she were to take the stand. And that, which is why, again, the analysts that we've spoken with said that it looks like some sort of a deal or a guilty plea is more likely to happen than not. So that's what the analysts are kind of, when they're reading the tea leaves, this is what they're coming up with.
All right, Paul Nelson, as always, great reporting down in St. George for us live right now. And again, follow Paul tomorrow for more updates on that hearing as it happens. So, as Paul mentioned last week, Ruby Franke pled guilty to 4 out of the 6 aggravated child abuse charges against her. And during that hearing, some of Ruby's family was in attendance, seated right behind her in the front row. Detectives from Santa Clara Ivans Public Safety were also sitting in the row behind them. In total, the hearing took less than 10 minutes to go over the formalities that were previously worked out in their plea agreement.
She will remain incarcerated awaiting sentencing, which will occur, and the date was February 20th, I believe. We are pleased that Mrs. Franke has accepted responsibility for criminal actions and that justice is being served to the extent possible in this type of a situation.
Per the plea agreement, Ruby will testify against Hildebrandt, as you just heard Paul report on. Now, it's unclear what Ruby's prison sentence may look like. Each charge can carry up to 15 years. After her sentencing, another hearing will take place, and it could take nearly 6 months to learn the length of that sentence. This is a developing story that we have been covering for months, since the very beginning. If you'd like to watch Ruby Franke's complete court hearing, we've posted it on our YouTube page, along with the hearing we have of the entire 8 Passengers playlist. You can watch if you'd like to get caught up on this case. Well, it was a chilly and calm night for most of us here in Utah. However, a major winter storm is bringing blizzard conditions across the plains and the upper Midwest, making for some dangerous travel plans and conditions during what is obviously a very busy holiday week. The National Weather Service says that wind gusts up to 75 miles per hour are possible tonight, and the Weather Service is also warning of widespread travel disruptions. They are likely across the region because of dangerous whiteout conditions. Parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, Kansas, Colorado, and Wyoming under blizzard warnings. Some areas can see snowfall of 1 to 2 inches per hour, and that is something that travelers need to be mindful of. Now, we are not expecting anything like that here, especially the next few days, as Chief Meteorologist Sterling Polson is joining us now. It's pretty quiet out there, isn't it?
It is quiet, and that storm in the Midwest, the other thing that's happening is the warm air is starting to filter into that storm because it's been sitting there so long. So we're actually getting some freezing rain on the northern edge of that storm system up in the Dakotas. So that's going to, for road travelers, that is not a good situation. We're going to be monitoring that storm. But here in Utah, as Jim said, it's been fairly quiet. It's in the temperatures in the 30s most of the day today here along the Wasatch Front. And that doesn't look like it's going to change tomorrow. We're still going to see temperatures in the 30s, 33 in Salt Lake City, 30 in Provo. under clear skies, but we do have some clouds moving through. We're expecting the air quality to decrease tomorrow down to moderate, voluntary action, and then Thursday gets a little worse, so mandatory action on Thursday to do what we can to reduce the amount of pollution that we put into the atmosphere by carpooling, planning our trips a little better. High clouds tonight, increasing haze on Wednesday, staying dry through Saturday. And maybe even through Sunday too, because it does look like we might have some showers moving in here on Sunday across the entire state, especially the western half of the state. But right now we've got the northerly winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. That's keeping us on the chilly side. We do have a lot of storminess. There's that freezing rain I was mentioning from Rapid City up through Bismarck and across the southeastern part of North Dakota. And boy, I'll tell you, that's a disastrous thing when you get the freezing rain, then they get the snow on top of it. Yeah, it's a mess. Lots of rain along the East Coast, so plan on some possible travel delays there. But here in the West, we're in great shape. A little bit of light snow shower activity trying to get to the ground, but probably not. And we've got some light showers on the West Coast and probably not much going on there. But as we put everything into motion, you can see that we do have some high clouds coming in. This is tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. It starts to cover us up here by about 9 or 10 o'clock. We'll see those high clouds thickening up a little bit, but no storms in those clouds. Teens and 20s across the state tonight, even St. George in the 20s, Rock Springs 11, 16 in Ely. Highs tomorrow in Salt Lake City climb up into the mid-30s, about where we were today. We hit a high of 36, tomorrow about 37 or 38. 40 degrees in Nephi, 39 in Provo, 35 in Ogden, and 31 in Logan, 52 down in St. George. And that high pressure, this takes us through noon tomorrow. High pressure building. This takes us through noon on Thursday. High pressure still here. It takes us through noon on Friday. High pressure is right over us. So we're not going to see any storms. We're not going to see any major change in the forecast, at least through Friday. And then as we move into January, above normal temperatures are possible across northern Utah, below normal across the southwest, because there may be a change in the pattern that will bring storms into the west, mainly the southwest, and maybe covering most of Utah. We'll see how that plays out, but it does look like maybe there's some hope for the first part of the year. And if you want to head out to some of the national parks over the next couple of days, if you're off work and you want to do some driving around, it's really quite pretty in the wintertime. Upper 30s, low 40s. Zion National Park should be in the 50s. And here's the forecast for St. George. We're talking about those temperatures right there around 52 degrees. And then warming up to 59 on Saturday, then chance of some showers moving in on Monday. We'll see those overnight lows in the 30s. For Salt Lake City, we've got those highs right there in the 30s, then into the 40s, mid 40s. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the end of December, does it? And then for New Year's, maybe some snow showers mixed with rain on New Year's Day. We'll see if that all plays out.
And hopefully this haze doesn't stick around for too long.
Well,
or get too bad.
if we get that active pattern moving in January, 1st of
Right.
January, that's next year, but we should be able to make it through
Right,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
right, yeah. Next year, that sounds so
Yeah,
far away.
I know it does, but it's
Yeah.
only a week away. so.
Right, all right. Thanks, Sterling. And remember, you can download our 2 News weather app and always be ready. Whenever there's changes in your neighborhood, you'll get updated forecasts, you'll get live radar, and you'll get it all right on your phone. Here's the best part. The app is free to download. Well, get this. Researchers are looking into the potential impacts of using nuclear explosions to defend the planet from asteroids. Scientists have long been against this idea, warning that it would create a group of smaller asteroids heading right towards Earth. But researchers with Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory are running simulations on a technique called nuclear ablation, which they say it could cause just enough of an explosion to send the asteroid off course. Scientists emphasize more research is needed, however. Reminder that KUTV, you can find our KUTV News Live program right on your phone, your tablet, and your computer. You can stream our newscasts over in the KUTV mobile app, the Stir app, and the News On app, and of course on YouTube. They are all free to download in the Apple App Store and on Google Play. Make it very easy for you to find us pretty much everywhere. Thanks so much for joining us on this edition of 2 News Live. We will be here 5:30 Monday through Friday. We hope that you join us again for more in-depth conversations on the topics that impact you and your family. Have a great Tuesday, the day after Christmas, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.